Hello, Mr. Minnick here, helping my honors software design students understand how you can implement a tic-tac-toe game using the canvas, the graphics window on an Android device. I'm going to be tracing some variation of this tic-tac-toe two-player or single-player demo that's currently, as of 2017-18, in the Unit 5 area of our class materials. So here I am in Android Studio, and first of all, let's look to see how simple the Java source code is here. We simply have one client class named main activity, and there's an onCreate method, and there's a extended view class, child class of view, that's TicTacToe board view. So with all the necessary imports, when I execute this currently, here's what happens in my emulator. It calls into action the onCreate method, and I instantiate a TicTacToe board view object. I set it as my main output rather than an XML file behind the scenes. So in other words, this private inner class, it's a class that's inside of a class, and that is my interface. So the code that we're about to see down here is my program. So with that being said, I'm going to check out my emulator here, and when somebody clicks there, an X appears. Right now, 0, the player 0 is not implemented, so I can click all I want, and it's not giving that player a turn. So let's take a look closer at the code to see how much of it works and what doesn't work. So I just established that when this app first executes, the onCreate method kicks into action whatever's inside of this class. So let's go look at that class. In that class, we have an onDraw method. Well, first of all, we have a constructor, which doesn't do anything terribly exciting. It just invokes the superclass constructor. And the onDraw method contains this code right here. So initially, it paints our canvas, the canvas that was sent to us as a parameter behind the scenes. I can't really say anything other than this is the canvas. And we create a paint object. We set its stroke width. We set its color. We dip it in some blue paint. We set its style to be a single stroke. This is all review from earlier projects, I believe. And then I just manually draw a tic-tac-toe board using the draw line method out of the canvas class. This canvas is a parameter. It comes from the class canvas, which is imported. It comes out of the graphics library, which is in the Android package. That's those are my vertical lines. I guess it's my horizontal lines too. Maybe it's bad documentation. You can look into that. Then with one big super if-else if, just this plain old if-else if, I check to see if board equals X. Interesting. Well, we just draw this initially, and as of now, this element out of a two-dimensional array named board is not equal to X. This is false. Everything's false initially in this portion of the onDraw method. And this Boolean variable is certainly false, so nobody's a winner yet. So all of that is just kind of like a non-event initially. We pretty much only get some lines on the screen. However, the user comes along and touches the screen display of this Android device. So at that moment, an event is passed to the onTouch event method, which means I now can do something based on where the user touched. And the user's touch occurs at wherever the getX is determined to whatever values returned from the getX method that's coming from this motion event object named event. So I created two local variables here, X and Y, that tell me where the user just touched the screen. If the user touched between the point x equals 0 and x equals 100, and at the same time the up and down vertical location of the user's touch is between y equals 0 and 100, I decide behind the scenes to set the variable board 00 equal to player turn. Now player turn is initialized to x. And board is a two-dimensional array that serves as the logic of my TicTacToe board. It has nothing to do directly with the interface. It's just the logic. This is the top row, a bunch of strings that are empty strings. This is the second row of the TicTacToe board, and this is the third row. I'm creating this lowercase x as like the first player to take a turn. And behind the scenes, I have a Boolean flag variable that determines if x is a winner or not. Now that the user touched an area, perhaps I can toggle one of those 9 positions equal to a lowercase x. And I check the other positions. You have some work to do here. Maybe you'll use better style and not use hard-coded positions. Maybe you'll take advantage of more of the screen than just this tiny postage stamp area. And then you do wind detection. At some point, you check to see if X, for example, is stored in positions 0, 0, row 0, column 0, row 0, column 1, and row 0, column 2. Hey, this is the top row of the TicTacToe board. Maybe you should put some comments, some documentation in here. And you have a lot more else ifs to do if you do wind detection in this way. And then at the end of that player's turn, after that person lifts their finger up off of the screen of the Android device, I'm simply changing it from lowercase x player's turn to lowercase o, or vice versa. Now this line of code tells the Android device to call the onDraw method, which then updates the screen based on drawing x's where they need to be in position 0, 0, perhaps o's. There's a lot more code for you to implement here. But you cannot call the onDraw method directly by typing code. That's handled by invalidate, which is tucked in here at the end of the user's touch. Good luck and have a great day.